Good morning, everyone. How are you doing? Hope you're well today. Nice to see everybody coming in the chat and saying how things are going. It's a little bit sunny here in East London. Yeah, a little bit of blue sky. So welcome to the last morning meditation for this week and the last one in my little set of morning meditations. I saw someone wrote, looking forward to some more uplifting and interesting ideas from Milla and the Sangha and everybody else. And we're going to be pulling together these threads a little bit. So in case anyone's here for the first time, my name is Milla, and I've been teaching this week. Most of my work doesn't actually involve this kind of teaching or this kind of Dharma stuff. I work with charities and individuals who are engaged in, I guess, making the world a better place, often through changing systems or thinking about systems or working with the ways that systems cause suffering, harmful systems in the world, whether there's different forms of injustice and through our social setups and so on, and also around climate. And so I'm really interested in how this intersects with the Dharma and with these inner practices, inner and outer. So yeah, that usually comes up as like one of my themes when I'm sharing. And this week I've been sharing about the idea of comfort and discomfort, by which I mean a kind of sense of awkwardness or kind of vague ooh kind of sense, and also a sense of ease, and how these are part of our experience, but maybe I can go wrong a bit or get a bit derailed if I make them the kind of the king and queen, if I organize things around them primarily, or if I give them the keys to the car, let them drive, let them write the emails, let them, operate my mouth, then they can lead me away from things that I would have cause to value. And so working with comfort and discomfort in a way that is kind of right-sized, I suppose, or appropriate or discerning, can be very liberating. Can free up energy, can allow us to move towards the things that we value, things that we find important, or the ways we want to live, actually the ways we want to practice as well, that we would like. So the idea of right-sizing comfort and discomfort, not necessarily putting them in charge, and also not making them wrong. So despite going on about this all week, I don't think there's anything wrong in working with discomfort. So it lessens. I think that's fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with seeking comfort. I think that's totally fine. And anyone who knows me will know that that's actually like a big part of things for me. I really enjoy comforts. And as I said before, not to be putting them necessarily always in the driving seat or organizing everything around them. At least not in a uninformed or unexamined way. So why might we want to do this? One of the things that somebody mentioned in the chat earlier in the week when we were sharing ideas was this notion of the green and orange and red zones in our kind of psychological experiences or emotional experiences. And there's probably lots of different ways to frame this. It might not be exactly the same. But for me, that means like green being the comfort zone, as it were, where we're just kind of not at all challenged, kind of going along. And it feels kind of fine, feels like, I suppose, normal and familiar. And then at the other extreme, we have the red zone where we're dysregulated, and it's difficult for our, our inner kind, wise adult, our inner enlightened being to be in charge. And then in the middle, there's an orange zone, where things might feel a little bit edgy, or we might not be kind of super comfy, but we're kind of all right. Yeah. And so I suppose in some ways we could divide, or we could talk about all these themes in terms of those zones. One might be getting more comfy with the orange zone, if that makes sense. So being all right with it. Some people argue that that's where like all learning takes place, and other kind of useful things like, having a difficult conversation with someone or going through big changes. So comfort with the discomfort of the orange zone is one way to approach things. And another way to approach it is to think about expanding the green zone. So the green zone does maybe like a bit of a land grab into the orange zone, so that things which maybe before had a sense of edginess or discomfort become just part of normal experience. They feel familiar, I suppose. We are changing the category for ourselves of different things. And this is actually got a really close parallel to some of the thinking in embodied coaching, where there's this idea of awareness, range, and choice. So in order to work with things that might be challenging, or to gain new perspectives, it's really, really helpful to gain embodied awareness, like what is actually going on, to be able to expand our range of embodied choices or action choices, so that instead of, I don't know, hiding or freaking out or just about coping, maybe those are our three options when we're in conflict or something, we actually have hiding, freaking out, just about coping, coping quite well, taking a breath. We have more options. We expand our range. And if we have awareness and range, then we can make choices which are discerning and wise. So those are just a couple of ways into the idea of expanding the green zone, or taking things out of the orange zone and putting them in the green zone. And yeah, different things might be in different places for us. And I think both those skills are really interesting and useful. Comfort with things in the orange zone, and taking things out and putting them in the green zone. And one of the ways to do that could be through experiment, through what might be called micro braveries, or I don't know, little day trips into the less comfortable places, knowing that they'll be quick and knowing you can always come back to the comfortable places. And I've been doing that a little bit this week. So I don't know if you've ever done any of this kind of sharing yourself, whether that's online or in front of a big room of people. But for me, it's always been very important to have a script to write everything out, which I don't necessarily always use. And I really feel like much more comfortable when I have. And Martin has been encouraging me to kind of ditch the script and to see what happens. That's a little bit what I'm doing today, and it's what I did on Wednesday, in a very small way. There was a very small section where I didn't have a script. So we'll see if it's how it goes. I have some notes which I couldn't help writing, but I don't have a full script. And, it is a little bit, in some ways, uncomfortable. And perhaps I'm showing up in a different way. Perhaps I'm a little bit more free to engage fully in this moment. and to see what arises. So taking things out of the orange zone, putting them in the green zone through experiment. And I might invite an experiment like that in a moment. So you might like to bring to mind something which maybe you have been avoiding because it's uncomfortable. And if you want to play, which you don't have to, of course, but if you want to, please pick something that is like a 3 out of 10 in terms of how much it's activating. So this is about having a very small, gentle example, just like a bit uncomfortable. Nothing massive, nothing very destabilizing or painful. So maybe think of something if you like. We'll come back to that. So experiments. And one of the experiments might be, I guess this is about going into the orange zone a little bit. And we've talked quite a bit this week about how to work with those natural and normal and very predictable feelings of discomfort that might come up around challenging or simply unfamiliar things. People had loads of great suggestions to put in the chat, and we've shared quite a bit, which has been really kind of interesting. And there's also lots of things in the Dharma, which we spoke about a little bit yesterday. And one of those is touching the earth. And I guess my plan is to introduce some ideas around touching the earth, maybe a few different ways to touch the earth. And then we'll pick one and kind of work with it imaginatively with this maybe uncomfortable idea that you've brought to mind. Example, rather, that you've brought to mind. So, in case you're not already familiar with the story of earth touching from the Buddha, from the Buddha's life, there's a record in, I think it's in the Jataka tales, which are slightly fantastical tales that surround the Buddha's life and previous lives, which are not so much what the Buddha said or is said to have said, but are kind of mythologizing or metaphorizing different aspects of his life and past lives. And so that's where this comes from. But you may have seen it in Buddhist iconography. There are 5 main mudras or hand signals that come up again and again in pictures of the Buddha, particularly old ones. So there's the Abhaya mudra, which is just saying no or protecting. There's the teaching mudra, which looks like this, sort of 2 hands like mirroring each other with that shape. And then the earth touching mudra is, if you imagine my hand kind of down by my knee, and that's the ground. It's touching the ground, reaching down, touching the ground. And the story is that on the night of the Buddha's enlightenment, well, on the night when the Buddha sat down and said, I'm not getting up until I'm enlightened, until I've solved this puzzle of existence and found a way forward for myself. So he sat down in great determination. And then Mara, who's the personification of doubt and bad things and inner critic and temptation and various other factors, Mara tries to put the Buddha off, essentially, and tries to tempt the Buddha out of his determination to various different ways, tempting him with kind of sensual pleasure, to take him away from this practice, tempting him with, or not tempting him, but attacking him with arrows. And also, when those things don't work, Mara kind of pulls out the big guns and starts accusing him and saying, "Who are you to be enlightened? Who are you to have this determination and this aspiration?" And in response, the Buddha touches the earth and calls on the earth, in this case, the earth goddess, to witness, and says, with the gesture, says, I am part of the earth. I have every right as part of the earth to behave in this way. And that kind of neutralizes Mara, and Mara hasn't got anything else, and sort of slinks off. And then the Buddha goes on and becomes enlightened under the Bodhi tree. So that's the kind of origin of the idea of earth touching as an idea, and it's really linked to this sense of solidity, saying, well, here I am. Earth is my witness. I'm fine. I have a right to be here. This kind of sense of groundedness. So I'll share a few, I think, ways that people bring this to life, and then maybe you can pick one, and we can have a little experiment with an uncomfortable thing. Okay, so number one, earth touching mudra. Reaching down and touching the earth with your hand. Another one might be to reach down and touch the earth sort of with your imagination. So right now I'm sitting on a bench, and the bench is on a carpet, and the carpet is on a floor. The floor is on a foundation, and then the foundation is on the earth. So I am not touching the earth directly, but with my imagination, I can connect with the fact that I'm touching the earth through some other things. And that gravity is working to keep me connected to the earth. So that's another one. Oh, and feel free, of course, to put anything you do into the chat, because I'm only going to be mentioning a few. Another one might be through bowing. So I talked a little bit about the Plum Village practice of touching the earth, which involves invoking ancestors, 3 kinds of ancestors. And in that case, touching the earth means a full prostration bow. So bowing and then continuing that bow so that you're on the ground completely, like lying face down with your hands out, like a kind of almost like a praying Superman, and touching the earth with every part of the front of your body. And repeating that kind of many times with regards to each kind of ancestor. Another way might be calling in the earth as part of your Sangha. So Lama Rod Owens has a practice called the 7 Homecomings, a little bit like touching the earth for the Plum Village world, except instead of 3 groups of ancestors, he has 7 homecomings. And this includes ancestors, but also wisdom guides, texts, silence, yourself, one that I can't remember, and the earth. And in this one, it's a sense of more calling in as if they're all around you, and you're calling in their energy. So we could touch the earth in that way. We're connecting with the earth as a kind of benefactor or homecoming. And then finally, another way I think it's possible to think about touching the earth is to lay your hands on your own body, because of course your body is part of the earth. Like, in some ways, how could we not be touching the earth at any time, given that we are part of the earth, made from the earth, will go back to the earth in one way or another. And so maybe this idea of placing the hands, which we have talked about as a form of comfort, could also be seen as a groundedness practice if we view ourselves as the earth and we touch ourselves as the earth. So this is the time for the experiment if you want to play. Picking something that's a little bit uncomfortable maybe, and picking one of these ways to touch the earth. So I'll say what they were again. And of course, you choose one that you already know or that someone has put in the chat if they have, of course, as well. So there's earth touching mudra. There's touching the earth through your imagination, through imagining, taking your attention down into the places where your body is connecting with the earth, albeit through a cushion or the floor or foundations of the building or whatever. There's bowing, whatever kind of bowing that is. Could be a full prostration bow. There's calling the earth in as a homecoming, as a benefactor, as a kind of almost as a character in your world of support. And then by placing the hands on your own body as the earth. Okay, so if you like, feel free to pick one. And let's maybe have an experiment before we move to have a sit. Bringing to mind something a little bit uncomfortable, and first of all, simply bringing it to mind. Maybe it's something you've been avoiding, maybe it's something that happened, but probably more useful if it's something you've been avoiding, you actually would like to engage with, but the discomfort has been derailing you. That's the ideal example. Something mild, but a bit uncomfortable that you think that's important, that would be good. Bringing it to mind and just noticing what might be happening in your body. And again, in this kind of open awareness way that we might use in meditation, of just noticing simply what is happening, where is it in the body, what does it feel like? Not trying to fix, change, or solve, or plan, just noticing. Whatever sensations come up, this particular flavor of discomfort for you. And then maybe letting that go a bit. Inviting the earth touching, whichever kind you've chosen. And going back to the same example, once you have established yourself, let's establish ourselves first. So touching the earth, connecting with the earth in whatever way makes sense for you today. Establishing ourselves in groundedness, solidity, as the earth, with the earth, under the protection of the earth. And if you're ready, inviting again the uncomfortable thing into your mindscape. Again, with the intention solely of noticing how it shows up in your physical embodied experience. Not so much thinking, if possible. And then again, kind of letting that go. You're very welcome to say how that was in the chat, either now or when we move to questions and reflections. And the last thing I'll say before we have some meditation is just again, maybe it's not necessary, but yeah, this touching the earth can be super helpful. Sometimes in practice, because things can get weird or unfamiliar in practice, and sometimes in life. That's all I really wanted to say. That it isn't solely about the taking comfort from the cushion and applying it in life. It can actually be both ways. Can show up in both places. But I won't say anything more about that because of the time. All right. So feel free to set up for practice, for meditation. Making any movements that feel good, that help you settle. Allowing yourself to be grounded, coming into contact with a sense of groundedness in your experience, perhaps of earth touching. Allowing your weight to fall down through your body and join with the earth. Whether you're sitting or lying down, standing or making movements. Expanding your groundedness, your earth contact. And also finding a balance with a sense of lightness or uprightness, openness. You are both grounded and free in your body, in your heart, in your mind. Opening to what comes. With this courage for knowing that we can touch the earth and be grounded, whatever comes. We'll have some quiet practice together now. As we move towards the close of practice in a few minutes, wherever you are, making connection with the earth and with your body, and with a sense of care, just as we can draw solidity from touching the earth, so also there's a sense of unification that all of us need not expect to be perfect or exceptional, in the sense that we make no mistakes or have no problems, because nothing makes no mistakes or has no problems. To sink into this gentle, compassionate knowing as part of our showing up for each other and the rest of the world. It's connecting with that sense of care and unity as we've practiced together for the last few minutes. Thank you everyone for your practice. Transitioning now back together. I was once practicing with Kyra Jewel lingo, and towards the end of one of the meditations, she started singing, and I really appreciated that. I'd like to share a song with you. I learned this week in a song circle, and it's by someone called Alexandra Blakely, and it just came to me, the wish to sing it, because I think it really speaks to our themes. If I'm gonna fall, and if I'm gonna change, may it serve the whole, may it turn a page. And if I'm gonna fail, if I'm gonna learn, May it serve the whole. May it serve the future ones. I too deserve belonging. I too deserve to heal. I too deserve aliveness. I deserve to court the shadows here. I too deserve belonging. I too deserve to heal. I too deserve aliveness. I deserve to court the shadows here. Thank you. Thank you for your listening and your practice. We have some time for questions and reflections. I'm also going to put the links in the chat. There's the Sangha Live Dana button. Sometimes I think we call the Friday the Dana Day. So if you are able to and you've not yet shared some support for this practice and this platform, please feel free. I'm also putting my own details in there. You can reach me for one-to-one sessions or to just kind of stay in touch. I send out a mailing list maybe once every 6 months, sometimes a little bit more, and you're very welcome. And with the last few minutes that we have, feel free to share reflections, questions. Could be reflections on what happened for you in meditation. It could be reflections on the micro experiment, the micro bravery experiment from earlier. I'm going to put the name of the song and the writer in the chat. Oh, the words of the chat. The words. I won't do that now because it will be challenging, but I will put it in my notes. And also, if you Google it, you will be able to see the words, because that's what I was sneakily doing during the meditation. I wanted to check the words. Anyway, thank you, Tom. Yes, I sang. Tom is my husband, who very strangely attends these sessions. Strangely and wonderfully. Always a surprise, but a nice one. All right, Josie asks, and someone else mentioned, is this the last Sangha Live before the August break? I don't know. Does anyone know? Oh, thank you. Thank you, Holly. Okay. Question. Do you have any advice if you're trapped at the red traffic light? When I first read that, I thought a traffic light in the traffic, but I think what you mean is in the red zone, trapped in the red zone. If I'm wrong, let me know. And other people may wish to contribute to this. I know there's a lot of wisdom and practice in the room. Trapped at the red light, at that point, we're in coping zone, I think. And that's for me anyway, the red zone is where my kind, wise, lovely, enlightened inner adult self is definitely not in the driving seat, and possibly not even in the car. And more the triggered, kind of frightened, destabilizing characters are coming to the fore. And I guess it does very much depend on the type of destabilization. But what's coming to mind for me is anger, because that's classically something where we can move very quickly from green through orange without even noticing, and then suddenly in red. And everyone finds different things work for them. But I think primarily it's the body. I think primarily it's coming back to the sensations in the body, noticing what's happening. And that's really, really hard to do when you're triggered. However, it is something that gets better with practice. And we can practice in just the same way with micro experiments, where maybe you're just going with this example of anger, which might not be your example, but just for example, engaging maybe deliberately with something that makes you feel a bit frustrated and noticing your body. First of all, for awareness, and second, for soothing or grounding. So that you can ground yourself back to the orange zone or the green. That could be taking deliberate breaths, could be touching the earth, could be walking. Movement can be really, really helpful, but you have to remember to do those things. And so this is about building up the kind of inner capacity, the embodied capacity and intelligence to recognize what's happening as it's happening. The other way to improve your kind of acuity with recognizing what is happening is journaling and reflection. I keep for instance, I keep a trigger journal, and it's really difficult in the moment to see what's happening. But I find the more I journal and reflect, and it might take me a couple of days to be able to actually look back and really understand what's happened, the shorter the time period gets between my being overwhelmed and my understanding that I'm overwhelmed, so that I can respond. Whether that is through breathing or walking or taking myself out of the situation or simply offering myself some care. So those are a couple of ideas. Yeah. Essentially kind of awareness, range and choice, I guess. It's those fundamentals from embodied coaching. And practicing to grow all of them, practicing to grow your ability to be aware that you're triggered or in the red zone, how that feels in the body. Practicing your range, so you have more than one way to respond, like touching the earth might be growing your range, and then practicing making those choices. Yeah, the trigger journal. I'm on a course right now with someone called Jamie Catto, who I find very helpful, and that's one of the suggestions of the course, is that we keep one. So credit to Jamie. I need a big trigger journal. Yeah, mine is big. Got big black letters on the front. All right. Okay. Thank you very much for all of your participation. Don't forget Dana if you want to do it. And I wish you a lovely day, a lovely week. Yes, Jamie Catto. I'll put him in the notes as well. Really recommend his courses. Yeah, enjoy and see you soon.